Well, hello everyone, and welcome again to Uncivil Law. I hope you are having just the greatest of days. We are here to talk about Karen Read, talk about court, talk about trials, talk about the U.S. justice system and lack thereof, with our friend Miss Shorty. How are you doing?
I'm very well, Kurt. How are you? Good to see you.
I am doing great. Thank you for asking. It is a wonderful day today in Uncivil Law world.
Well, good. It's a wonderful 2:09 a.m. in Melbourne. So, yikes.
Mm, yes, yes, those pesky time zones.
It's
When
okay. I
will
live
when
in
when will they learn?
I know where I live in a sort of a weird twilight zone world of I'm not quite sure my regular work schedule is very
Mm-hmm.
early. My
Mm-hmm.
trial schedule is whenever I can. And just let me say just to let everybody know, my internet's not working tonight, my Wi-Fi, so I don't have my normal setup, including my microphone. So if my sound's a bit dodgy, I'm so sorry, but we're doing things as we can tonight, ad hoc.
That's all right. It's part of the live stream experience. It's all part of the joy and
Absolutely,
glory of
I
live
know.
streaming. Technical issues and sound management issues and fun had by all. But that's we can discuss technical stuff a later time. But for the moment, let's talk about all things Karen Read and relating thereto. So of course I covered the first trial. I am now covering the second trial in all of its wonderful glory. And it has been an interesting ride on a number of levels. So I suppose what has your experience been with the Karen Read Spectacular?
Well, I watched the first trial avidly, as I did. I'm doing this time. I watched every day of trial twice,
Did
with
you
the
really?
time difference. Yes,
So good, so great. You had to watch it twice.
so horrifying, really.
Oh yeah.
I'm a So I guess the time difference somewhat helped in that I would watch and still do watch the first uh, time round on like 1.75x speed, and then watch it again and recaps and things. And I'm trying to spread myself across as much of the YouTubes as I can to get as many perspectives as I can. I guess prior to last trial, I listened to a podcast and watched maybe one or two things about Karen Read and Officer John O'Keefe. I had an inkling, a vibe that probably there was something a bit off in the whole thing, and so was leaning towards uh, a questionable case, if not factually innocent. I guess I'm pretty firmly in the factually innocent camp, but I understand that you're not necessarily, and that's okay. I know you're all about the law, and
I
so
like
but
to.
I came
I
into
like to. I like to just keep my life simple.
yes, really, exactly. So I came, and at the end of the day, for the law, it doesn't really matter whether she's factually innocent or if the Commonwealth can't prove that she's guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, right? So, but anyway, I
Yep.
came into that first trial and was happy, like quite on the fence, no hardline opinions, and within the first couple of days of testimony, I was like, this is outrageous. I started tweeting
Mm.
about it, which I'd been trepidatious to do that because I knew that I'd heard full well that it was a pretty vile uh, case to stick your hand up and say this is what I believe, free Karen Read or otherwise. So it's been quite the wild ride, and so I wasn't live streaming back then. In fact, my channel was born from creating shorts. I'm a shorty who makes shorts, so my whole channel was built on shorts from the Professor Dan Markell, the Adelson uh, goings on. And then with all of this, I decided to start live streaming, not necessarily only because of Karen Read. In fact, it's probably only about 40, 40 or 50% of my content. But we did lots of stuff every weekend after the mistrial. Yeah, thank you. After the mistrial, and
We
and
can flip images over here too. We figure out which way is which.
I am the Sally Port. And now look, now my graphics are in the right way. This is my friend Buster here, by the
Yeah,
way.
no problem.
Yes. So that's, I guess that's my journey. Me and my community have dissected every it's kind of redundant now, but every one of the McAlberts, every testimony from the last trial that likely isn't going to come in this trial ad nauseum. We've done top 10 moments. We've done all of the things. So I'm very much deeply immersed in the whole thing. And I guess this time around, Kurt, for me, it's feeling, and I don't know about you, but it's discombobulating the way things are being, the way the Commonwealth is timing their witnesses, the stuff that's coming. It's like I'm gaslighting myself. Do I remember this? What?
Yeah. I think the Commonwealth has done a lot better in terms of the presentation of witnesses, order of witnesses. I think that their strategic management of the order of things has been so far fairly optimal. I couldn't really, given what they have to work with, of course, which is the ultimate constraint, right? It's like, this is one of the things too, like what makes a good lawyer versus a bad lawyer is not necessarily like, who's the more persuasive in the room, because the lawyer has the cards they're dealt with, right? So a good, just because you're a good lawyer or a bad lawyer, like a bad lawyer can win an easy case and a good lawyer can lose a bad case, something like that. So, when you're trying to, well, at least to my mind, when I'm trying to separate like the strength of the lawyering or the strength of the strategic considerations, I look at that separate and apart from the case. Like a good example of that in a separate case would be, for example, Kyle Rittenhouse. Like, for example,
Yes.
I thought that opening of Kyle Rittenhouse, his opening was very, very good. I gave him very high marks. I thought it was a very well organized opening. And so, like, even though I thought, the case against him was incredibly dumb, and I thought, it made no sense, and I thought basically their own charging documents, like the legal charging document, the information as it's called, when their official charging document basically makes the defense's case for them, it's like, I don't even know what we're doing here. So it's like, but be that as it may, it's like I thought that that Binger's opening in Kyle Rittenhouse was very, very good. For comparable reasons, perhaps I thought that Brennan's opening in this case was very, very good. Now his stage presence leaves a lot to be desired, but from an organizational structure, I thought it was great. And apparently we're going to have a discussion with Mark Betterow later today. And so we'll have an argument with him about whether it was good or bad, because he thinks it's trash fire. And I'm like, yeah, basically it's perfect. So we're going to have an argument about that. Should be fun.
I guess it's all relative, and compared to Adam Lally's opening, it was a masterpiece, wasn't it?
Yeah, Lally's opening was like, I wanted to die. It got drowned in way unneeded specificity. There was no organizational structure. It was just fact after fact, and it was even like worse than that, because it was like really specific fact. It's like, that's not what opening is for. Opening is just to lay out the story. You don't need to prove your case in the opening, man. You just need to lay out the story. So yeah, exactly. But I liked the Brennan's opening a lot better. AJ's opening I thought was fantastic. They sort of didn't make the mistake they made last time by Karen Read was framed, because I think they unintentionally shifted the burden. It was powerful, but I think might have unintentionally shifted the burden. So they're making the corruption angle a little bit softer comparatively. They're still talking about it as they should, but it's not like their driving theme. The driving theme is just like, well, they can't prove it, which is, I think, a better, more compelling theme in the end.
I guess they it's more of an inference now. They're not actually, they didn't make a statement of corruption and frame job. So now they're kind of showing rather than telling through inference, and you don't need to spell everything out. The jury, we hope the jury aren't fools, like they didn't check their common sense at the door, and they were selected for a reason, those jurors. So with any luck, they're picking up what the defense is putting down.
Yeah. So, I mean, I certainly share your thought. I wouldn't necessarily call it gaslighting, but it's like we had a dress rehearsal, right? We had a dress rehearsal, and everyone's improved their parts since last time. Right. Everyone is practiced and more experienced and understands, what's happening. And so they're presenting a better case, and they certainly learned from their mistakes the first time around. So I think that, Brennan has been basically running this essentially flawlessly, and in the order and direct. The sort of the only mistake that I've noted is apparently he's not going to call Proctor, which seems to my mind to be a mistake, because it's like, look, there's really not a lot of great options. It's just, which option do you hate less? And
Yes.
I think it makes more sense for Brennan to call Proctor and just kind of eat the bullet on that one. But apparently he's not going to try to do that, and he's going to try to rehabilitate the whole thing in Cross. I'm like, okay, good luck with that plan.
Well, exactly. I think it's lose-lose for the Commonwealth, and it's
Yeah,
basically win-win for the defence with Proctor. He's a red hot mess, and everybody
yeah,
knows it, and it's a
yeah.
nightmare for the Commonwealth, and it's an absolute benefit for the defence. What do you think of? I'm interested, Kurt. What are your thoughts on Hank Brennan himself as being brought in as special prosecutor? He the man, the character with his background.
I don't really
Do you have
necessarily.
thoughts?
I don't necessarily really think anything of it to be in particular. I mean, I'm not going to judge the man by the clients that he's had.
No,
Every person's entitled to a rigorous defense, and so
agreed.
that he's represented people that are sketchy. If he's done his job, ethically and represent his client zealously, then he's a good lawyer, and God
I
bless him.
I guess I'm not necessarily. I mean, the Whitey Bulger thing and all that aside, I strongly agree. Everybody needs a. Well, hopefully, I don't ever need a defense attorney. But guys, sorry, the dogs are playing over here. Yes,
It's
okay,
all
you
right.
too. But I'm more thinking. So Adam Lally. I mean, the internet knows. The Norfolk County District Attorney's Office knows that Adam Lally's was received with a resounding thud from the worldwide internet.
Yep.
He was a deflated balloon, a dial tone. So to my mind, if you want to bring in a character, not just an attorney, but a person who is going to be well received by the jurors, because that matters, right? It matters
Sure.
what the jury thinks of the attorney. And let's be honest, Hank Brennan isn't the most likable, warm,
No.
charismatic guy.
No.
It's an interesting choice, in my opinion, to bring in him over some, like when you're going up against beloved David Nettie, the surgeon smooth as butter, Alan Jackson. Then you've got then Alessi, being like my forever true love, and that's an interesting
I thought
choice
that
to
was
bring
me
in.
though.
Oh well, equal, same.
Okay.
But I just find it a really interesting choice, knowing all the things that surely all of these people on the Commonwealth side know about jurors and
Yeah.
how they receive. Yeah. So you just think it's one of those things they brought in their best guy or whatever it is?
I don't know why they chose Brennan as as the special prosecutor to bring in. I'm not sure what their motivation there exactly is, or why they thought he was the best pick. There are a lot of great trial attorneys out there. So presumably they have a pick of choices. So I don't know. Maybe maybe the people they really want aren't willing to do this case, because it's
That's
like,
it.
yeah,
Too much of a
it's like,
sleeper.
I don't have to do this, so I don't want to.
Good point. I hadn't thought of that. Maybe they were choosing from a very limited barrel of trial attorneys who are prepared to prosecute
Yeah,
this case. Mm.
yeah.
Alongside Adam Lally as second chair, because goodness me,
Adam Lally, to give him credit though, has improved when he's been presenting.
yes,
So I don't know where he got a memo, but he's been doing fine as second chair. So God bless the man.
he has. Someone like I was watching Law and Lumber last night, and somebody Rob said no, maybe, anyway, one of the Ian or Rob said somebody, he had a brain surgery and someone scooped the what if anything out of his brain and just set it aside, and like
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
such a
Well, thank God for that, because if I hear "what if any" one more time, I'm gonna. Yeah, I'm just, if I become a judge, it's definitely one of the banned phrases. It's like, I don't care if it means I have to compromise on foundation. Just ask the question, like, what did you do? Not like, well, that assumes they did something. I'm like, yeah, fuck it, it's fine. I don't care. Just ask the question.
so funny, so funny.
Save my sanity.
It was a verbal tick, really, wasn't it? It was just a bad habit that he seemed to have gotten into, and he's managed to get himself out of.
Yeah. Well,
Everybody's got them.
we all learn, and we all take correction. It's nice when we can take notes, though. Hey, so we'll give credit where credit's due. So yeah, I
Absolutely.
mean, I think my assessment of my assessment of the case is I think the prosecution started comparatively strong. I think compared to first trial in particular, like the idea that she said I hit him, right? This really, I didn't really feel like the prosecution did a very good job of getting that out from other witnesses. I really felt like the only witness they really got it from in the first trial was Jen McCabe, really. And I was like, and then compared to everything else, I was like, it was just so weird. And I was like, the case was such shambles by the end of the prosecution's case. I'm like, as a hopefully neutral judge, I'd like to think that I'm a little bit more neutral than Bev, but as a hopefully neutral judge, I'm like, when they make that motion for a directed verdict at the end of the state's case, I'm telling you what, I'm thinking about it. I'm not necessarily
Mm,
telling you I'm going to do it, but I'm going to think about it real hard, because that case is in such incredible shambles at the case of that thing. I'm like, yeah, I'm not sure that a reasonable juror could convict at this point. That is it's such shambles. But to their credit, this time around, they sold the idea that she made the statement better. They got more people to say they heard it or heard it in the background or whatever. Now, what that means is, open to things, but the prosecution's going to sell it as a confession. So they've got their confession. And if you buy that, that goes a long way in a jury system. I'll tell you what. I said that before. I think juries will sometimes believe confessions up to and including contradictions with physical evidence. So that is
yes.
not inconsequential.
Yes. The defense pared down their defense case in chief last time. I think they'd said at first they were going to maybe a couple of weeks, and it came down to, what was it, 6 days? Surely, to
The
all of us,
defense, it was like two
yeah,
days.
yeah, was it? So they went from like 6 days to, yeah, it was very brief.
Yeah, it was incredibly brief. To be
And
to be
I,
fair to them, I mean,
because
I understand it, because it's like we don't really need to say very much, but I guess they needed to
exactly.
say more.
Yes, because
So
it seemed so apparent to, to me, the layperson, and to everybody that, it's a mild echo chamber in which I exist, but we're all just like, done, case closed, not guilty all the way. I said the uh, famously or infamously claimed jury will come back in less than 3.5 hours, including lunch, not guilty.
yeah.
Well, didn't I jinx that, Kurt?
Apparently there were 6 or 8 members ready to convict on some version of manslaughter, because at least
Yes.
according to one juror, other jurors in the room were, well, Karen Reed was there, John O'Keefe was there, therefore Karen Reed did it. I'm like, I'm going to need some other things in between those two steps, to get to.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ca- Yeah, can you explain that a little bit? Because I try to so the second count, the second count
Hmm.
has the main count of manslaughter, yes,
Right.
and then so they were hung up on some of the lessers in that second count, right? Is that right,
Yeah.
or just
Lesser versions of manslaughter, basically. Yeah.
right? Okay, so there's a possibility that, it's a different mix of people. Obviously, it's
Oh,
a different
sure.
makeup of jurors. I've heard it's a younger jury, um, uh, but that's again quite a possibility, right? If we want to get it for something.
Yeah, I mean, I think the dynamics of a jury are kind of like the dynamics of like any group. I mean, you've been in groups of roughly 12 people, I'm sure, many different times in your life, and you can appreciate that the dynamics of any sort of random group of 12 people is going to be very
Mm,
different than any other random group of 12 people. It's just like, they're different people with different energies, and lawyers who have worked cases, with retrials, when they've interviewed one jury and interviewed another jury, like what one jury will choose to care about, another jury doesn't care about at all.
mm,
One jury focuses on, another jury can't be bothered. So it's really hard to draw any sort of conclusions about what juries will do. I sort of note as sort of perhaps the ultimate example with the ice cream murder case. The original jury was 11-1 to acquit, and then on the retrial 12-0 to convict. I mean, it's hard to get much more of a swing than that.
mm,
so,
goodness.
so what juries will focus on and what they will choose to care about is what can you really say? It's the dynamics of the room. You get a strong personality, they drive the discussion. Yeah, it is what it is.
I'm sure you've heard the asshole scandal. Did you hear that? I was watching you, I think. And did you hear the asshole in real time?
Oh yeah, with the judge saying asshole. Yeah, I missed
Well,
it when it was said.
do you think it was the judge? Here, let me throw a spanner in the works. Given the instruction or the admonishments or whatever it was that Bev gave yesterday morning at the start of the day, I'm wondering whether one of the jurors actually said asshole at Bev for curtailing David Yanetti's sandbagging and curtailing,
That would be
because,
hilarious.
and that's why she admonished them, because I don't think, because it came at the end of, Yannetti trying to, as they've always, Alessi, all of them trying to just be able to cross-examine the way they should be able to, and she's tying them, binding them hand and foot, and gagging them. That one of
Hmm.
the because while there's no microphones in the jury box, the courtroom is so close and
Sure,
so small, and it
sure.
didn't sound, because I was thinking it might have been Ms. McLaughlin, not Judge Bev, but then that instruction made me wonder whether it was actually a juror, and not a
That's a
David Nettie asshole, but Bev asshole.
that's a reasonable hypothesis. So I buy that. It could be.
Do
Some
you?
jurors said it under their breath and it got picked up on the mic. Lol.
Because the pool cameras are right there, right? They come in over from behind where they're right next to the jury
Yeah, I believe
box.
that's right. Hmm.
Mm. And that would make sense why then Bev comes in and says what she said. I've also heard, and this is hearsay, but that a juror sent a note through the court clerk or someone in the court, to ask Bev to slow her roll on slowing the defense's roll and just let them cross-examine. Do you reckon that's true?
I don't know anything about that. That would be pretty aggressive if that happened.
And risking oneself being removed from the jury,
Getting
I would have
yeeted,
thought.
getting
Yeah,
yeeted again. Because heaven
yeah.
forbid, it's like, this is like you're interfering with my ability to try the facts over here. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it could mean a lot of things. I think reading tea leaves of juries is always kind of inherently dangerous. I know
Yes,
everyone loves to
yes.
do it, but I think it's like, it will not stop everyone obsessing over every word and comma and, thing in the notes. But what it means, I think, is sort of a fool's errand in the end. It's like, well, okay,
Exactly. It's
yeah,
human nature to speculate and wonder and want to join all the dots and fill in the lushness of the detail. But I know for you, it's a matter of can the Commonwealth prove that a 7,000 pound vehicle
that would be
hit?
helpful.
Mm,
I mean, that's sort of like it's like trying to find the easiest way to resolve the case, right? A lot of judges like to do that. It's like, how can I make this? What is the easiest way for me to make this case go away, right? And that's the thing. Like, if I can make it easy, then why make it hard? So it's like, okay, what is the easiest way to resolve the case? It's like, well, the state has to prove each and every element beyond a reasonable doubt. It's like, okay, so if they can't prove one element, they necessarily fail. So it's like,
mm.
as long as I can say they failed in one element, I don't have to ask any other questions because they've necessarily failed. It's like easy. So like, okay, so what is the easiest way to resolve this? It's like, how does a 7,000 pound car going 25 miles an hour backwards hit a person with enough force to disable them, but simultaneously not create any sort of broken bones, torn ligaments, or bruising? How are both of those things possible? And by possible, I mean, how is it sufficiently likely that I can credit it in a beyond a reasonable doubt kind of analysis? I need more than anything can happen in medicine. Stranger things have happened. It's like, I need this to be a credible enough possibility that I can like move on to some other part of the analysis. And right now, not so much.
So then, what do you think of the Commonwealth strategy? Do you think that's an indicator that the Commonwealth didn't put all that, primacy and recency, as you all like to say, that they didn't put all that strong stuff in the beginning to establish for the jury that here's what happened. Clearly,
Mm.
the medical examiner says yes. The crash reconstructionist, whoever that may, well, says yes. Not Trooper Paul. And so now we fill in the gaps of why also, yes, the supporting stuff, to back up the facts, science and data, and then finish off with, I don't know, a bow and a guilty verdict, but they haven't done that. So does that speak volumes to you, Kurt?
Not really to me, because I think like the primacy basically was the confession, and then we're in the sort of the middle part of the case where we're going to dump all the sort of garbage, and then the recency, which is where this thing is going to end, probably is going to be with Aperture. That makes the logical sense. So I shift the physics into my rebuttal case, so that I can end hopefully with with witness or witnesses who can say, scientifically, this totes happened. So if I have someone who can say, like, medically, that this happened and physically this happened, I either put that at the end of my case in chief, or if I'm the prosecutor, I seriously consider shifting it into my rebuttal case. So it's like, well, the primacy becomes the confession. The recency is the rebuttal case, because it's the last thing the jury heard, is all this, all the medical and physics stuff that say this happened. And then everything else becomes the garbage in the middle, is how I do that. And then I structure my closing argument around that. Basically, because as a prosecutor, I get both a closing and a rebuttal closing. So I then, just pick my poison. Which one do I like to do better? It's like, do I start, do I just, do I bring in my case in chief, basically, or my initial close? I just bring in the, basically the confession and that kind of stuff. And then the rebuttal, I bring in the physics and, sort of call it a day. That's, I think, where this is going, because it makes the most logical sense. And it seems like they've thought this through.
I don't know. I just feel like something about an actual vehicle actually hitting Officer John O'Keefe, and beyond a reasonable doubt, it hasn't happened yet. I mean, the taillight pieces, but there was pieces that didn't fit.
Sure.
The medical examiner says, I mean, it was kind of buried, but she didn't say the injuries were conducive with a.
Yeah, absolutely. No,
Pedestrian
medical examiner
strike.
said, yeah, it's like, it doesn't look like a pedestrian strike. Yeah, I mean, that is not great for the Commonwealth. They've got many problems. But in terms of what juries will do, I think juries, as a general matter, tend to rule based kind of on vibes. I mean, there's
Yes.
definitely people who attention to detail, but I think juries, like human beings in general, tend to be somewhat emotional animals, and I think that they tend to, because especially with a trial this long and this detailed, focusing on the details will drive a person nuts. So I think they're going
Yes,
to,
hi.
yes,
Hi,
exactly,
it's me.
right. So I think there's a real possibility here that the jury just kind of like, smooths things away. In the panoply of trials, there have been some pretty outlandish convictions at times, and so juries do weird things sometimes, man.
Yes, agreed.
It's just the best system we have. It's better than all the alternatives. That's what we're going with.
Yeah.
That's our working premise.
Yeah, it's just it feels like the perfect storm of incompetence
Mm-hmm.
and
A lot of
smoke and
incompetence.
smoke and mirrors, a bit of intentionality buried deep in there, in my opinion. At the core of whatever actually happened to, and then just some perfect storm stuff where that small town Canton, incestuous nature of everybody knowing everybody for their whole lives, helped sort of nurture and magnify that incompetence, and because so many people say, oh, there's no way that 50 or 60 or 70 people could be involved in a cover up, but if a core group of people who have the right, again, to that group dynamic where they've got certain character traits or influence, whether it be law enforcement or just personal small town influence,
Mm-hmm.
anything can happen. But like you say, at the end of the day, that's not all that doesn't even matter. It's just noise, which is why I guess the Commonwealth haven't brought in any of that noise this time.
Yeah, well, exactly so. I mean, they're not gonna. That makes total sense not to call on any of the Alberts or Higgins or stuff like that. That makes total logical sense. I don't really think the defense probably calls those people. I don't know that really gets you anywhere as a defense. I think they call Proctor because I think that that's just like, you know,
Yeah,
obviously. I mean, the man's been thrown off the force in part because of what he did in this case. I mean, that's just like a gimme. You know,
yeah.
you want to, make him the lead investigator and destroy his entire world, keep him on the stand and make it, just make him out to be the liar he does. So if that'd be, entertaining for sure.
Proctor and Higgins are my pick. I think they'll call Brian Higgins as well, the defense.
You think so?
Yeah, stick a pin in it. But that's all. I don't think they'll call anybody else.
They might.
Of the McAlberts. I think
They might.
it's risky. Yeah, there's pros and cons to Higgins because at the moment he's kind of like a faceless, perhaps a hooded, cloaked person in out in the snow in a hallway at the Canton PD. If they bring him in the defense bring him in to I guess cross-examine and impeach. Oh, sorry, not cross-examine. To examine him and potentially impeach him on some of his prior inconsistent testimony. Then he becomes less of the boogeyman in the room and more of the hapless kind of potentially sympathetic. It's a risk.
Well, I think that's why they read the text messages through Buchanan, because they're not going to call Higgins. So they got what they wanted out of Buchanan.
So you think that video footage from again with Buchanan from the Canton PD late at night that puts Brian Higgins' prior testimony into, throws it all out basically, was purely to go to the Bowden defense of they had this information and they didn't pursue it, they being the MSP or
well, I mean, it served multiple purposes. I mean, that was part of the purpose, but I think one of the reasons they spent as much time on it and in as much detail as they did is because they were trying to get what they would have gotten out of Higgins through Buchanan. And because it's like, it feels like those are a lot of the same questions you would have asked Higgins, and it doesn't make really sense to ask it twice. So I figure the reason they spent the time they did was because they're probably leaning towards not calling Higgins. So get it out in a different way.
But do you think then that because there's a lot of, it must be hard for an attorney to retry a case because
Sure.
it's like in anything, they have all that assumed knowledge. It's hard to set aside and see and present your case with fresh eyes when the jury doesn't, technically, one would hope they don't have any of that. So they have no context for the whole Higgins thing. There's a lot of stuff that we know the context for.
That's fair.
Alan Jackson. I don't know. I don't know whether it'd be like an unfinished storyline in a movie where they leave a loose end that you're like, whatever happened there? What's that? And the jurors will. I mean, I don't know. We'll see. Pure speculation.
Well, yeah, I mean, these are all strategic and tactical considerations, right? It's like,
Yes.
as a matter of strategic consideration, does it make sense to call Higgins, or do you get it out through somewhere else? I mean, what are the liabilities of calling Higgins? And then, like, tactical considerations are basically, when do you call him, in what order, what questions do you ask to him versus someone else? So there's.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what about the mobile phone and the SIM card if I did it?
Sure, yeah.
But that more goes to the third party culprit, which isn't their main defense. This time, and so it makes sense, I guess, to point out that there's so many failings in the investigation, including did you chase down this? We don't know what it means, but what about this? This is weird, huh? This guy doing this at this time of night. So yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
If we don't have to suffer through Higgins, I'll be okay with that. If we have to go through Proctor for days, perhaps.
Yeah, I think you want to keep Proctor on the stand and make him out to be the absolute train wreck that he is. That seems like the right thing to do. It just feels like it feels like a complete win for the defense, because no matter what happens, it feels like I win. If Proctor somehow confesses it all, obviously I win. If he fights me, however, I still win. It's like, so I don't really care what his answers are, which is a pretty good position to be in.
Absolutely. Speaking of Proctor, I mean, Connor Keefe testified to being alone at the autopsy. No,
Hmm.
no, no, what was his, no one from his, what's the called? From his team, but not the team. Anyway, no one from his crew, from his posse of MSP guys was there. None of his colleagues. And then that photo comes out of Watson. Now, I don't know about you, Kurt, and I think the internet's already gone wild with it, but that looks a lot like former Mr. Michael Proctor to me. But then the defense stipulated to that being Proctor. Do you think that
It
your
stipulated it
thoughts,
wasn't
Kurt?
Proctor.
Yeah, exactly. So your
Yeah.
thoughts, Kurt? Why would? Because come on now, that's Proctor. Let's be honest. Do you think they just went, nah, let him have it?
Yeah, I don't know. There's obviously like considerations on why you would do things or why you wouldn't do things in terms of, leaving it open or leaving it closed. So, someone had to make a decision about, conceding the point versus,
Yes.
it being drawn out or being fought over, what made more sense. I sort of appreciate your intuition that it makes sense to keep it vague and open. Like maybe it's Proctor, it could be Proctor, and like keep that possibility open. That certainly appeals to my sensibilities as well. So like why didn't they do that? Why didn't they keep it open? What were they trying to accomplish by that? Yeah, I'm not really sure 100% what the defense's motivations are there.
Because at this
Maybe
point,
they just don't feel like it's important whether Proctor was there on that particular occasion. Maybe he was there on some other occasion, or maybe he influenced in some other way. Maybe they just don't feel like
yeah,
that's important. I don't know.
because I mean, it may well be, but it wasn't clear that that was not the day of the autopsy that he and the Proctor and sorry Watson and Trooper Keefe went to the Cape and went to the morgue, as Dr. Scotty Bello called it, on a different day. Anyway, but at this point, the jury don't know what Michael Proctor looks like theoretically. So that was
Hmm.
just to them that was nothing. Uh, so maybe that's why, because at this point there was no aha moment. They just see two guys. But maybe the point is scored for the defense there, and that if the jury was paying attention, that Trooper Keefe said he went alone, and then here he is not alone. So it just goes to show even a seemingly credible witness is kind of a bit shady.
Oh yeah, I mean there's shadiness all around. There's lots of shade. Nothing but shade. This entire thing is pretty shady.
Yes,
I'll read a
yes,
super chats. A couple of super
yes,
chats came in that we can discuss.
sure.
Start with, hold on, okay. $10 from Kristen from Manhattan. Hello, Kristen. Hello from Manhattan. Is the defense allowed to present a SIR rebuttal, especially considering Bev's ruling in Aperture? No, they'd have to ask for permission and almost certainly would be denied.
Bev's gonna
And
say
for
no.
do you still think Karen Reed has a 2 out of 3 conviction? No hate, just asking. Well, I've amended to 60% on the basis of the Proctor thing because it seems like a strategic mistake that is creating real problems. But I think a 60% chance of conviction when you throw in everything that's sort of been happening, and also that's a best guesstimate, including from witnesses we haven't heard, because we haven't heard from Aperture. We haven't heard from, I believe there's a new medical examiner who's going to testify as well. We haven't heard from like this dog bite person they want to bring in. So in some senses, that's assuming like the best possible case for those witnesses, that they're going to be particularly impactful and particularly well received and get them to where they want to be. So I'm assuming things that we don't know because we don't know from the first trial. But yeah, I think a 60% chance that this jury is going to convict is a pretty plausible contention when you throw in all the factors we've been talking about. I mean, to convince me beyond a reasonable doubt, you have a long way to go. But to convince a jury about how juries act and stuff, I think it's plausible. But thank you for your super chat.
Can I
Four
just
nine,
ask a question?
go please
Sorry,
go ahead.
one question. So, do you think 60% of some sort of conviction, not across the board, you just mean something sticking, right?
Yeah, that's
That's what you
basically what I'm
predict,
contending.
right?
Yeah,
Okay, okay, yep, yep. Sorry,
yeah,
just want to
no
clarify.
worries. Yeah. 499 from Michelle. I wonder if the police union played a part in the second trial. I thought the Commonwealth was protecting the McAlberts, but maybe they're protecting the cop mafia. Yeah, I don't know if this has anything to do with the police union as such versus just how police forces act in general with a thin blue line, but fair enough.
Mm.
What's it do to? Who knows? And $10 from T Rex Trucking and More. I don't think the defense will call former Trooper Proctor or Brian Higgins unless Bev allows them to treat those two as hostile witnesses, which I don't think she'll allow. Well, first of all, I kind of think she has to, but even if she doesn't, I think I can still pretty much get anywhere I want to be with open-ended questions. So I think I'd still do it, but maybe it's
Yeah.
just me.
I think no matter what Trooper Proctor says, even with proper direct questioning, it's bad. It's bad. It's bad. It's all bad. No matter what he says.
No, it is a trash fire. Like, yeah, I
Yes.
mean, it's almost certainly hostile, a hostile witness because I mean he's obviously he works for the government. He's a
Yes.
government witness, and I'm calling him. And also, we're pretty assured it's going to be hostile, so that they're going to ask cross examination questions. But like, I mean, even if I'm limited to asking open end questions, I mean, that's not necessarily as great, but it's like I'll get what I want. It's fine. I'll make it work.
Yes.
All right, cool. So what else can we talk about relating to this case? Yeah, or other cases. We can talk about other cases too, depending on what you want.
I don't suppose you watched the Monica Simontelli trial. It was an absolute marathon, very long, 2 months, but it was outstanding.
No, I don't even know who you're talking about. Tell me about it.
Okay. So you might remember the case. I wasn't familiar, but many of my friends from the States remembered it. Do you remember in 2016, I think, a hairdresser called Fabio Simontelli was murdered in his home in LA, brutally slain, and no, a stabbing, and it went unsolved for quite some time. And then it turns out, lo and behold, that it was Monica, his wife, and her boyfriend, and a poor little Patsy. Anyway, it's a moot point because you didn't watch it, but I'm a bit of an avid trial watcher, not an attorney, obviously, but it was really, really well done. So if you ever have 2 months up your sleeve, Kurt, I mean, you can watch it on 3x speed.
If I ever get
But
bored, I guess.
she was Monica. It just finished about. I think it finished. The verdict was delivered guilty on conspiracy to commit murder and first and definitely conspiracy, maybe first degree. I can't remember. That can't be right. Anyway, just before the Karen Reid trial started, it was quite the thing. A meticulous, the opposite of this investigation, and no stone was left unturned. Everything was meticulously documented, and they 10/10, really good. So that.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, there's certainly a lot of interesting trials, and then of course, coming up pretty soon, we've got Kohberger theoretically starting relatively soon.
Yes.
That's going to be really interesting. I think I'm really looking forward to that case because I think there's a lot of pieces here that could sort of suggest things. I kind of hope the state has a little bit more than has been publicly released. I like a little bit more because for my mind, the pieces feel a little bit too attenuated and a little too.
Really?
A little too thin. I mean, it's a like, what do you need to make the pieces go together kind of thing. But it feels a little much for the quadruple knife murder. I'd like a little bit more personally, but
it seems I'm a bit like I was with coming into the first Karen Reid trial. I'm leaning towards, it seems like he's the guy, Kohberger's the guy, but I'm more than like, prove it to me, state. Prove it to me, state of Idaho. There's a channel that I watch and friends with called Salty Sleuth Investigates, and she does a lot of she does a lot of deep dives and document reading, and we go through things with a fine tooth comb.
To be fair, I haven't been super deep into the lore, so my
So,
knowledge of the case is a little superficial. So we have to
so
factor
there
that
you
into the
go.
equation.
I think you might find that your hopes are bolstered by the law and the pre-trial motion stuff. Like there's a lot coming out now that starts to be like, oh, this is looking worse and worse for Brian Koberger, better and better for the state. There's a lot going on there. That's sort of little nails in that coffin, if you know what I mean. Legal
Yeah, no,
nails.
I think there's definitely a lot of reason to suspect him. I mean, the knife sheath DNA is certainly cause enough to suspect him. It still amazes me that apparently none of the victim's blood was in his car. That strikes me as pretty odd to my mind, because you
Agreed.
would think with the quadruple knife murder there would be quite a bit of blood and blood transfer. Now it's possible that he, of course, cleaned his car, but I don't know what evidence there is necessarily to support that. If they have evidence of like him cleaning his car really thoroughly, like the day after the murder or something, that would go a long way towards convincing me that there's something up. But I don't know if that evidence exists.
So that's interesting because in the Monica Cementelli trial, what got her the boyfriend Rob Baker home, one of his nails in his coffin was there was blood on the clutch pedal of the
Yeah,
Porsche,
see, that'll do
and
it.
it was on his shoe, and it was he wiped down other stuff, but he missed that one thing, and that was one human being slain, with a knife,
Right.
two knives, whereas four in the dead of night. And
Yeah.
in that period of time, I'm sorry, whoever the killer may be or killers, um, would have been absolutely, you would think, bathed in blood.
Yeah.
Sorry, but too.
Yeah, no, and it is pretty hard to like clean the car thoroughly enough. You make one mistake and it's like, yeah, I mean, he could have, just been incredibly thorough and diligent, but if there's evidence to that proposition rather than just speculation of it, then that would be helpful. But yeah,
There's
the
a
evidence I've found is, it's like we don't have any footprints of his, I think, in the house. Like we haven't been able to match like his footwear. I don't think there's something in the house. No fingerprints. I mean, he might have worn gloves, but no hair, no other DNA from him apparently inside the house except for the knife sheath. Like the cameras that captured a car, it's like the cameras aren't really great quality. So it's like, well, it might be one of these 6 model years. I'm like, okay, that's not great.
mm,
So it's like, yeah, what evidence? The cell phone records are a little sketchy. On the plus side for the state, they do have his like Amazon purchase history and
yeah,
things
that's
like
pretty
that, and they do have
damning.
yeah, they do have other things. So it's
Deleted
deleted,
Amazon search history.
yeah, deleted Amazon search history. So there's definitely a lot of factors going to it. It's just like I hope that well, it'll be interesting for first because there might be more evidence that's being held back, and so I'm looking
You'd
forward to
think
watching
this.
it. And it might, yeah, there could be a really strong possibility that some witness comes to stand. I'll be like, oh, okay, that sort of solves my doubts. So we'll see what they can do. It sounds like a fun trial though so far.
Yes, and so much a marathon of witnesses and evidence to be. I mean, just the evidence alone will take forever. All those uh, terabytes that what's her name, Ann Taylor keeps whining about. She's got some whining on her, that one. I used to really. I mean, I used to really, really like her, as an attorney and as a human. And then more and more, it's like, oh, girl, come on now. It's the same old little mini violin that she plays every time with how much information she has. So does the state. So it's quite interesting.
$10 super chat from Albert Norda. First 40 seconds of Sallyport shows splicing of night and day. When SUV drives in, look at both door bays. Rear is night while front door bay is nighttime or daytime with coming in. I have not
Hmm.
noticed that. Yeah, I've
Hmm.
not noticed that, so I'll take your word for it. But there's a lot to suspect from the Sallyport video with the ghostly presences and random apparitions of people just randomly appearing. There's a lot of very stuff that's questionable in this trial.
So, but Kurt, on that note, why no more Sally Port with Bukaki, Bukenic? Why no more Sally Port? Why wasn't that? Why? What's going on there?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I guess the Sally ports are what they are, but yeah, it's like with the flipped videos and everything else. It's just like okay, yeah.
But this trial, why didn't we go over that ad nauseum? The defense, do you think they're going to do that with Proctor?
Maybe that would make sense if you really, yeah. So try to save as much of that stuff to drive it through Proctor, and yeah, that makes sense. It gets them on the stand longer, exposes them to more
Yeah.
lies. I buy that theory. That makes sense to me.
Particularly, Kurt, when you remember that one of the few times that Bev had the comments of, wasn't that Buchanan saying that Trooper Proctor, former Trooper Proctor, never touched the Lexus, and they objected, and it was that stuff was stricken. So I mean that actually makes sense, doesn't it? That they're going to bring that all in with Proctor because it has to come in more at length. We just had a hint of it.
Yep, could well be. Could well be. Well, is there anything else you sort of want to discuss before we sort of wrap this up? But I've been really. Oh, by the way, I have to say the OnlyFans song is the highlight of my life.
It's not bad.
No, it's really good. I need to know more about. Tell me more about how the OnlyFans song was created. I want to know more things.
Well, I write a lot of lyrics myself. I have a lot of creative and emotional juices flowing. That's my outlet. So just to lay the foundation, like since late mid-November last year, I've written, I think now 63 songs. So call me Paul McCartney. Here I am.
Wow,
And
63
there,
songs is a lot.
yeah, so I write all my own lyrics, and then I have an idea of what I want that song based on the vibe and the whatever it's about, uh, what I would like the end result to be. So then I use the app or the program Suno to input my own lyrics that I write all out in my phone on notes and tap it out to make sure there's the right amount of syllables and stuff, and then put in the the prompts and the lyrics into the app. So OnlyFan, so my community and I were planning to and did do a whole live stream creating a song together. We wanted to write a free Karen Reid song together as a community. And someone threw around the idea of OnlyFan, but the lyrics start to itch in my brain, Kurt. They have to come out, and the OnlyFan lyrics were starting to itch my brain, and so I just started. I didn't want it to have a chorus. I just wanted to be quite like hypnotic, and just so basically using OnlyFan the whole way through, and
Hmm.
then I don't have any other songs in my playlist that are that dance trance vibe. But so I literally write all my songs in about 10 minutes. The lyrics, they just blah because they've itched in my brain. And I put the prompt into to Suno, and I think that was the second iteration that came out. I was like, phew, money bag, money shot. So, and then I was even
Is it
thrilled
you
that
singing on it?
no. So the AI, no, I can sing okay, Kurt, but no, I don't have a recording studio. So my lyrics and my prompts, and I usually say female vocals, and then AI, the app takes my lyrics and the way they are and the vibe of them and the prompts and gives you if you've got a great magical set of lyrics with the right prompts, you'll come up with something pretty good pretty quickly. So it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it. And then even the cover art, only that day, Suno had changed that you can use not just a still image in your cover art for the song, but you could put a looped video. And I was like, of all of them, to be able to put the OnlyFan, and then it glitched a little bit. That wasn't my intention. It was a smooth video that I just took off Court TV, and then it kept glitching in the loop. But it kind of almost works better because it feels like it's kind of dancing to the music. So that it's a lot of fun. I've got a bunch of free Karen Reid songs. I think 5 or 6 now. So, but OnlyFans one of my favorites. It's in my head all the time.
No, it is definitely a banger. We play it constantly on the stream because I was loving it. In fact, I was going to pull it up.
Do it.
We'll pull up your music channel. It's just so we can share it
Well,
with this real fast.
my
Just with
music
people.
channel's only a baby one, but I have got a whole playlist on my actual regular channel, including a free Karen Reid playlist. So you can find it all there. And if anybody likes the idea of using music to get rid of some stuff that maybe therapy would help with, Suno is a really fun, easy. I'm happy to give anyone any pointers if they want to have a little play around. This is a good one.
All right.
Why so cranky? Meatball Morrissey. Disruption to corruption. Free Karen Reid, that's me. Action Jackson and Yannetti building the dream team. Liza Little, Tori Georgia, Leslie energy. Baba Lally, who would have thought we'd miss you lollygagging? And here's to praying, hoping, waiting. Justice won't be lagging. Hanky Spanky, why so cranky? Meatball Morrissey. Disruption to corruption. Free Karen Reid, that's me.
That's pretty good, man. That's pretty
Yeah.
good.
That's a fun. My original one that's my original one. That's probably that was my second or third song I ever wrote. This one, and it's obviously a snapshot from the first trial because it kind of details all that stuff. This is the OG banger in my opinion. It's pretty good.
All right, let's see what this is.
Hear ye, they are not like us. Hear ye, they all be making a fuss. The crash daddies told us that the car did not hit,
They sure did.
and Trooper Paul couldn't make any of the physics fit.
Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Free Karen Reid. Hashtags be flooding out our feed. Justice for Officer John O'Keefe. Free Karen Reid. Hashtags be flooding out our feed. 'Cause we all know that Lexus don't have no teeth.
Nice. Very good. Very good.
That one builds its interest. So the first verse is very simple and it's the basics. Basically, no car, no physics. The end. And by the end, the lyrics is so compacted. It's like it's just pretty cool. It builds like it starts off slow and builds. But so when you get a chance, listen to the whole thing. It's kind of cool.
And then of course our favorite
Yes.
is this dance banger. This is the best one.
Only fan knows that they killed a man, an officer friend. Only fan knows Karen's innocence. Only fan is outraged till the end. Only fan, the shit goes round and round. 34 on the lawn they found a man falling in the snow, and only the McColberts know. Only fan, the common way. Only fan, environmental health. Only fan, what the fuck is going on?
That's a good question.
Only fan, you've seen it all.
That is a certified banger. That is a certified banger. 100%, man. 100%.
I wake up in the middle of the night all the time. One of my songs, mostly always, it's Only Fan. It is such an earworm. It's just in my head. I've got different tracks in my brain, and always it's one of my songs, and usually it's Only Fan going. It's so good.
I'm trying to convince Court TV to play it during one of their breaks.
Oh my goodness, you got me choky. That's hilarious. They'll have to flip out.
Put that right in the air, man. That'd be good. Let's get you some love. Get some shout outs to the Miss Shorty song beats. Holla.
Yes. Yes, thank you. It's a lot of fun.
Get
It's
you that
definitely my
recording contract.
well, that I mean, some like not to anyway. My songs that aren't free Karen Reed or Karen Reed based are are actually kind
All
of
your
deep.
songs are based.
They're kind of cool, and there's actually been like I have got an idea to try and pitch some of my lyrics to some big name um, people because there's a few that are very niche that are very personal that wouldn't make any sense to anybody, but there's a few in that 63 which are pretty fucking good. So we'll see. If you know anybody, I'll have my people talk to your people, Kurt.
Oh, then you have the short of this asshole movement, which we referred to earlier. So I can share that, and because you have a short of it. So as you referred to it earlier, this moment in the courtroom where someone said asshole.
One other important instruction for you folks, and
Well, no,
it's
this is
It's
actually
just
the
this correction.
instruction. This
Okay.
is her. This is the and people are like, yes, if the juror said that, they need to be removed. If Bev said that, I'm like, I mean, who knows? But that's what that instruction is all about. So, whatever, whoever said asshole, whether it was Bev trying to project her own indiscretions onto the jury to throw off the world of the internet sleuths thinking it was her, or whether it was actually a juror or somebody else, or whether it's not even related to that comment, if that was even what was said. If it was people making faces, jurors making faces and reacting to things and snickering at Hank Brennan, who knows? But yeah.
Other creators are interested in potentially playing the song. How can they reach out to you if they want to talk to you about that?
They can absolutely play the song. Like they can grab it from, they can use it off my channel. The sounds better as an MP4 video clip. If you want to, like I have all my music uploaded into my StreamYard because it's a cleaner sound because the originals sound much better. But I have a website which is missshorty.com, and there's a contact us form, or there's my Gmail, which is all one word. It's missshorty@gmail.com, or just come into a chat and ask me. I'm going live later, so. But yeah, any of my songs, anytime, all the time.
There you
Only
go.
fan, go for it. Spread the
There you
word.
go. All right. Well, I need to let you go because hypothetically, I might be doing an interview with what's his name in 50 minutes, and I need the break. With
Mr.
Bedro.
Bedero.
Yeah,
How
Bedro.
exciting.
Yeah, hypothetically,
Lovely.
we're supposed to be doing something today, so we'll see if that's going to happen or not. But I'll let you
Should
go
be.
in the meantime.
Thank you so much, Kurt. It was just such a pleasure and lovely to talk to you. Lovely to connect and enjoy OnlyFan. Bang it out.
I will do my best. All right. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye-bye. Well, my friends, that was a very fun interview with Miss Shorty and has produced some true bangers, of course. OnlyFan, of course, is best banger. We love OnlyFan. Yeah. The OnlyFan knows the truth. The OnlyFan is ever reliable, and all that stuff is happening. Yeah. So all that good stuff. I'm going to sign off for now and have a little lunch, and we might be on in 50 minutes, 45 minutes. I'm still waiting for a confirmation, but we might still be on in 45 minutes with Betero, and we can have a discussion relating to stuff and things. Could be fun. Until later, I hope all is well, my friends. Cheers for now, my friends, and goodbye.